Thank you very much for the intro. It's my pleasure to be with you today. As part of our research in Telenor, we try to predict the evolution of the telecom industry to provide input to the company's strategy. One fundamental question has emerged. Will mobile network operators continue to thrive in 2030, or will they simply rest in peace being taken over by others? Mobile operators have had a tremendous success. 2/3 of the global population now have mobile subscriptions, but growth are slowing. In response, there are massive changes unfolding that drives changes to the very structure of the mobile industry. Just think back on the IT industry in the 1970s and 80s. That was the time of the mainframes. And companies like IBM, Amdahl, NEC, Cray and Apollo, they dominated the industry and they operated as vertically integrated companies. These companies built large computers, operating systems and software for users. Today, the IT industry has fundamentally changed, and many of the great companies of the 1970s and 80s do not exist anymore. The IT industry, has been through a fundamental transformation. Is the same now happening to the mobile industry? In this presentation, I will talk about three things. First, why the structure of the mobile industry is changing, how it's changing, and finally, the implications for mobile network operators. To predict future change, we need to understand the past and the present. So let me shortly remind us about why MNOs have succeeded so well. Mobile operators have from the 1990s built networks and sold mobile services. Network coverage was a key differentiator. MNOs mastered the coordination of selling mobile services to where the company had good network coverage. This was a synchronization act between building networks and selling services, and this was best done in an integrated model. Right now, most countries have very good network coverage. The game is changing. We have identified 6 main forces that together drive the structural change of the mobile business. I will now explain how each of these forces drive the structural changes, leading to the separation of the integrated MNO value chain. After that, I will suggest implication for MNOs. First out is regulations. To increase competition, governments have for 2 decades forced the MNOs to offer wholesale network access to MVNOs. Network wholesale was not telco's choice, but now incumbents are beginning to opening up the value chain to better utilize assets and to capture new growth opportunities by monetizing assets. Denmark's TDC group has structurally separated the network and service provider business. And according to a report from McKinsey, similar actions have been taken in the Czech Republic and are considered by other incumbents in Europe. To better utilize assets, network sharing has emerged in several countries. In Denmark, Telenor and Telia have formed a joint venture to run and manage towers and active networks. Outsourcing to vendors is common among telcos. Telco vendors have been through a global consolidation to capture scale on technology R&D investments in equipment. But another important change have happened. Vendors have recently started to change their business model from selling equipment to also operating the network. In the next wave, we may see more of network as a service, and this may well be based on a wholesale model to service providers that specialize in adding value to different market segments. The mobile industry faces now new competition from the internet tech companies. We all know about how Google, Facebook, Microsoft, Apple and so on have entered the communication industry, with software-based communication solutions. With their technology, they have achieved global scale on software. And we also see the industry boundaries are becoming blurred between telcos, IT, and internet industries. The competition from internet and software companies has increased the race for innovation. In this new competitive landscape, access to competence is critical. Development of new services and digitalization of customer interaction requires software skills, artificial intelligence, and cybersecurity competences, just to mention some. In Telenor, we observe limited access to competent people in many of the countries we operate. And this has two important implications. First, top competences need to be well utilized across countries. And second, since it will not be possible to access all types of competences, telcos will need to be very good at collaborating with other companies. Finally, we see incumbents divesting assets, in particular towers. Several telcos monetize their towers to reduce debt. For example, late 2019, Telefónica sold more than 2,000 towers in Ecuador and Colombia to Phoenix Tower International. In Italy, Vodafone and Telecom Italy merged their tower businesses into Inwit. By that move, they created Italy's largest tower operation. Now, they've sold a stake in their jointly owned towers to reduce debt. Let's summarize this into 3 points. First, the mobile value chain is really getting crowded with more actors. And this is a result of telcos divesting, outsourcing, and blurring industry boundaries. Second, the value chain is gradually being opened up to better utilize and monetize assets for growth. And this leads to more trade between companies in the value chain. And finally, each functional part of the value chain has its own business model with distinct capabilities. So, now, with a better understanding of the forces driving structural change, we face 3 big questions. Will the MNO model survive the structural changes in the industry? Will the specialized companies form new ecosystems that can outcompete the MNO model? Or will mobile network operators succeed as companies, but only by transforming the business model? Our analysis suggests that the integrated MNO bundle will evolve into 6 specialized roles, selling and buying services in the mobile value chain. Each role have a distinct business model and supporting capabilities. Within the network domain, 3 roles are emerging. Number 1, tower companies or passive infrastructure, this is called. This role is about owning and maintaining assets such as towers, buildings, cables, dark fiber. Tower companies are renting space to host active network equipment such as antennas, base stations, and edge computers. Revenue is captured based on a tenant model where you simply charge for renting assets. Next role is active network, and that is about operating the distributed network equipment that is powered and connected. To reduce cost, many operators share network and organize the business as joint ventures. The revenue model is based on wholesale. While this role is today controlled by MNOs, this may change. The European Union has introduced a neutral host model called 5G City. This model involves telecom operators to rent capacity from the city to offer their own services. In addition, a new breed of customers are emerging, and that is the cloud companies such as Microsoft, Amazon, and Google, who are setting up their servers close to the customers. To get low latency with 5G, it's beneficial not only to co-locate servers with telcos edge computing, but also to connect them in the same server rooms. The next role is network operation, and that role is changing. With 5G, the network operation is moving to various cloud solutions. The new generation 5G telco services will be developed by software. Again, the big internet companies are investing in telco cloud technologies, and we see both competition and co-creation of services with these actors. With 5G in the core network, the network operation role is emerging into DevOps, Development Operation Centers. When the network operation have fully moved to the cloud, we will most likely see multinational consolidation of this role the coming 10 years. We have now covered the 3 network roles. Let's move to the 3 service provider roles that bring network services to users. The old and distinct role managing consumers are well known for branding, marketing, sales, distribution, and customer support. That are all common activities for this role. But in addition, many operators bundle value-added services and content to differentiate the offering. Extensive physical retail has been the traditional way to reach the consumers. But no, most operators are stepping up the digital channels. Digital channels are likely to be further accelerated when eSIM becomes pervasive. Providing services through digital channels requires the right IT support systems, and there are significant cross-country scale opportunities when serving customers digitally. Let's now move to the business market role. Serving the business market has many similarities to the consumer market, but it differs with respect to which services that should be bundled and the capabilities needed to automate the administrative subscription and billing systems for the large accounts. MNOs face competitions from MVNOs both in the consumer and business segment. In addition, we observe new specialized companies such as the American RingCentral that offers software-based solutions in the business market. They are way more innovative than what is offered by most MNOs. Finally, we observe an emerging new role we call solution partners. This role will be key to monetize 5G. The network DevOps will be the 5G service platform, and that's the raw material to develop new industry solutions. To capture the revenue opportunities coming from new 5G industry solutions, operators need to actively engage in the creation of new solutions. The problem is, telcos do not possess sufficient knowledge and capabilities to do this by themselves. The development of new industry solutions need to be done together with industry customers and other partners. And for that to happen, you need competent business developers and engineers with software and system integration skills. All the roles I've mentioned are part of the value chain for MNOs, but each role faces competition from specialized companies taking positions in the mobile value chain. Over time, companies that specialize in few roles may form efficient ecosystems with other specialized companies and with the potential to outcompete the integrated MNO model. However, full-fledged MNOs can start to emulate the advantages of the specialized companies. The dynamics of the emerging ecosystem of specialized companies can be illustrated as the following. Passive infrastructure companies rent towers, buildings, and dark fiber to active network companies based on a tenant model. The active network companies specialize in managing active infrastructure that sell capacity to network DevOps based on a wholesale model. The network DevOps provide the 5G network resources as a platform to service providers. And service providers will use the 5G network resources to develop tailored services to different market segments. Service providers for consumers will develop price plans and bundle differentiated consumer services and gradually move to digital channels. Service provider business sells standardized solutions tailored to the mass business market. Finally, The solution partner business is set up to co-create solutions together with customers and partners, and when attractive solutions are developed for the front-runner customers, these can be standardized and scaled and sold to a broader market. So, where do all this lead us? Mobile network operators seems to have two fundamental choices. The alternative one is to specialize the companies by focusing on 2 or 3 roles in the larger ecosystem. This alternative is likely going to be a cost leader strategy. We're offering a utility, or a specialization strategy based on some unique digital competences. The alternative 2, that goes really for the full-fledged MNOs, may be to open up the value chain to create growth by monetizing more assets. And cost efficiency can be achieved through scale by consolidating the business domains across countries. This will enable them to efficiently compete with specialized utility companies. The MNOs will then collaborate with many other companies to sell and buy services. A core capability will then be orchestration of resources from different companies. In other words, this can lead to the death of the mobile network operator model and the birth of the mobile network orchestrator model. What does it take to succeed as a mobile network orchestrator? Well, 3 things appear to be similar. First, they need to continue to control spectrum. Second, they need a strong brand. And finally, they need to possess some unique capabilities that differentiate the companies from other mobile providers and make it an attractive partner. Whichever strategy is chosen, structural changes requires an operating model designed to efficiently collaborate across the functional businesses. 4 efforts should be considered by mobile operators. First, you need to develop an IT network architecture that is modularized to fit the functional business roles. Second, you need to distribute IT responsibility to each functional role to speed up digitalization. Third, you need to align the organizational architecture with the IT architecture. And finally, you need to develop technical and organizational interfaces to manage and capture scale advantages. I hope that the analysis and framework provided in this presentation is helpful to better understand the structural changes that we may see play out during this decade, and not at least how it affects the MNOs. That said, when predicting the future, we know that the realized future will always be different from what we can imagine. So what do you believe? Will the integrated MNO model as we see it today survive, or will the mobile industry gradually become restructured and potentially with the birth of mobile network orchestrators? Thank you very much for your attention. And with that, it's my pleasure to hand back to you in the studio.